So he's driven off the Arab slavers. He's gotten a whole bunch of ivory. He's brought out a bunch of art and stuff.
He drove off the Arab slavers with his slave
child
soldiers.
Yes.
Oh.
So he has now established himself as one of the world's great humanitarians.
Again, this is Uncle Leo, guys.
This is Uncle Leo. Big,
Everybody
fluffy,
loves
white
Uncle
beard,
Leo.
Rides the tricycle. Is a little bit of a germaphobe. Takes care of his ailing sister Carlotta, Maximilian's widow. Okay, things get worse because everybody's going nuts about rubber. Right? They figured out how to vulcanize rubber. Automobiles are now on the scene, and you need rubber for the tires. People like waterproofing their clothes now. The what are they called? The Macintosh coats are all the rage. So people are waterproofing their clothes with rubber.
High demand.
Hot air balloons are like a craze for a while. And so those are necessary. Well, we talked about dirigibles and stuff, right? All of this is dependent upon rubber. Now, when this starts out, right, people foresee that there's going to be a very high demand for rubber. So there are two ways to get rubber. There are rubber trees and there are rubber vines.
I actually didn't know about the vines.
Yeah. Rubber trees, you plant them, they grow, and then you tap them just like a maple tree. And you get the gunk out and you dry it and add sulfur or whatever, and you have rubber.
Cool.
The vines, rubber trees, very easy to harvest. But they take about 20 years before they get to the point that you can actually get any rubber out of them.
Oh, who's got that kind of time?
Leopold's got, well, okay.
Uncle Leo's in a hurry.
Uncle Leo is in a hurry because people foreseeing the rubber boom have started planting rubber orchards in South America and Asia. So he's got 20 years to fill this power vacuum because the Congo is full of rubber vines. Now, rubber vines can grow up to a foot in diameter.
What?
And they stretch up into the trees and like grow over the top of the forest canopy.
Wow.
Right? They grow everywhere. And you can harvest rubber from them, but when you like cut and drain a section, well, that section's done for a while, and you have to climb up into the trees to get to a new section. Up into the trees where there are snakes, or where you can fall to your death, or
dangerous work.
It's very, very dangerous work. But Leopold sees this, and he says, okay, I've got 20 years where I have almost a monopoly on the rubber market. I need all of the rubber that I can possibly get, and I don't care what it costs in human lives.
Oh, I hate this guy.
Thus begins what is known as the Rubber Terror, where he sends the Force Publique. Yeah, gross, right? Anyway. So he sends the Force Publique out into the Congo to all of these tribes, which have already been absolutely terrorized and brutalized by his ivory expeditions. And he says, okay, we need rubber. And we will do whatever it takes to get said rubber. So they're taking hostages and they're beating people. And everything is awful and horrible. And it's very dangerous work. And on top of that, everybody is out working, gathering rubber. Nobody then is available to work the fields. And you get widespread famine.
Oh.
So people start starving to death. And at the same time, there is an epidemic of smallpox.
Oh, no.
And an epidemic of African sleeping sickness.
Oh, sleeping sickness because you die.
You die, yeah.
That's
you fall
the sleeping
asleep and
part.
then you never wake up again. And these epidemics are going nuts because people are being worked to exhaustion. Their immune systems can't handle it, and they die. So things are getting even worse. it gets even worse from there.
Oh, no.
Because you've got the Force Publique now out terrorizing all of these people. But most of the Force Publique are Africans themselves. Right? So you'll have like 5 Europeans for a force of over 100 African soldiers. So they've got to keep them under control because there's starting to be mutterings of mutiny and rebellion.
Well, yeah, you can only do so much working people to death through famine and plague.
Yeah, you can only
morale.
Brutalize so many people. It's pretty bad. So they come up with this idea of like, okay, well, here's what we need to do. They need to have guns, obviously, to do their work. What if we controlled the bullets? So every time they shoot a bullet, they have to bring back a human right hand.
What sort of twisted mind even thinks about that?
It gets worse.
It can't.
Because of the famine, the Force Publique is starving. And so have to spend their bullets hunting.
Oh, no.
But for every bullet spent hunting, you've got to track somebody down.
You owe me
and
a
cut
hand.
off their hand.
Oh.
So, one station in a single year doled out 40,000 replacement rounds. They had to have a member of the Force Publique, an officer whose responsibility was to smoke and preserve human hands.
I think I hate this story more than anything else we have ever done.
It's not great. It's not great. So, let's jump. Okay, so over the course of the Rubber Terror, at the end of the Rubber Terror, when the rubber trees come in and stops being profitable and they take the Congo away from King Leopold because they figure out what's going on there, and everybody in the world gets involved, including people like Arthur Conan Doyle, who was a personal friend of E.D. Morel, and Mark Twain, who got involved. All of these people get involved and get the Congo taken away from King Leopold.
Good.
King Leopold. Okay, let's jump back in time and give you a little bit more accurate description of some of the key players. King Leopold II, from the time that he was very young, was described as being dead-eyed, without enthusiasm or the capacity to inspire it in others. Otto von Bismarck essentially described him as, I forget the exact wording, but basically like a dead-eyed, soulless little creep.
A sociopath.
A sociopath. And a lot of the time we say like, oh yeah, he was a sociopath, but we mean, oh, he was a bad person. No, he was likely, well, sociopath maybe, more likely a psychopath. He hated music. He hated animals. He hated his children. It was said later in his life that King Leopold had only 2 ambitions in this life: to die a billionaire and to disown his daughters.
What?
Well, because his one daughter he married off to a guy who was extremely abusive, and she tried to leave him. So he had her imprisoned and tried to disinherit her. The other one married a mere prince, but not the one that he wanted her to marry, so he tried to disinherit her.
Oh, I can tell you that story. Was it Stephanie?
I believe so.
Oh, I'll tell you that story.
Let's try to power on through to the end and try to fit a happy story towards the end here.
Okay, but Stephanie brings about World War I. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, cool. All right. So he is this dead-eyed, soulless creep. The only things that he likes in this world is making money and underage prostitutes.
Oh.
Yep. So he is awful. his best friend, what's his name? Henry Morton Stanley, famous explorer, on and on and on and on, also a psychopath, well known for murdering people, cruelty to animals, torture. He just shot his way across Africa. All of the treaties that he signed were signed under duress. Right? He just tortured and burned his way across Africa. He was also described as being just dead-eyed, soulless, completely without feeling or sympathy. He was a monster. General Henry Shelton Sanford, Leopold II's man in the United States, not a general, perpetual grifter. In the end, even he couldn't put up with Leopold, but already couldn't stop things that were in motion and died broken and betrayed by Leopold, who he thought was his best friend.
Oh, man. If anyone among our listeners develops time travel, forget going back and killing Hitler. Kill this guy.
So,
King Leopold II. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to be sick.